What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron, and today we're going to talk about the future, boys. Now, a little bit of a back to the future episode. We're going to be talking about 2023 rookie picks. These are my favorite assets to go out and acquire in these Dynasty leagues. We're not going to waste any time today. We got a lot of things to cover. Let's go. Now, before I get into the steak and potatoes of this episode, make sure you go down below, subscribe, and leave a like. It really helps us grow, and you guys have been showing a lot of love, man, so I really appreciate that. Let's get straight into these future first. And I want to say this video is mainly for rebuilding and tanking teams. And yes, this happens to the best of us. You know, sometimes we take on orphans. Sometimes we fuck up the startup. Sometimes we draft a guy like, who busts? Like a guy like Trent Richardson. And things go to shit. Maybe you take Jalen Reagor a little bit too high in your rookie draft last year and your team's going to shit. When I'm rebuilding, I'm trying to trade anybody that's over the age of 25, 26, 27. That's right around where the age apex is. For wide receivers, you can be a little bit more lenient. But for those running backs, when they're on that last year of that rookie deal, when they're on the first year of the second deal, that's when you want to get those players off your team. You want to scrap your team of old age. Because you want to get those players off your team because you don't want to score points, fellas. When we're tanking, we're tanking. If the I don't know who said this, maybe Vince Lombardi, but I think I'm capping. If you're not first, you're last, fellas. So if you aren't going to contend, you want the 101, because if you're not getting the 101, the 102, then the tank is for nothing. We never want to be in purgatory. We never want to fuck around and get 6th place or 7th place. Go out there. If you're going to tank, actually tank. And this is the best way. When you trade for future first, you get to offload veterans and you get rookie picks in return. Rookie picks aren't scoring points. And I know some of you guys might see trade targets out there. Here's the thing. These buy low guys, like, their value's low for a reason. Is kind of what it comes down to. So when you're buying these players low, they're losing value and you're back where you started. If you jump up from here, sell a veteran before he gets here. But if you buy a buy low player and he meets you right at where that veteran was already on his way, then you already lost. So when I'm trading back at rookie drafts or trying to offload these veterans, I want 2023 firsts, fellas. And we'll get into why 2023 specifically, but we want those future firsts. They always hold value. And think about it this way, every minute that passes, that rookie pick, that future rookie pick, ticks up in value ever so slightly. Ever so slightly does that pick uptick in value, but as time goes on and on, between now and when you're making that pick on the clock, that pick increases with the value, because it goes from a future first to a present first, and that's big. And most of these contenders, you know, they're down to part with these 2023 firsts. They're contenders. They assume their pick's going to be late. Oh, my 2023, it's 2 years out. I'm going to contend. I'll sell it at a discount. But also these contenders, they're often pretenders, fellas. Everybody wants to be great. Not everybody can be a contender. I'm going to make a video on this in the future, but I see so many people, they either come to me or I see them out there in leagues. You can't just go from a middle of the pack team or rebuilding team, package 2 firsts, get 2 assets in return, and now all of a sudden you're a contender. That's not how that works. It's a slow build over time, and your team needs to actually be good. There's a difference between a contender and a playoff team. That's the big thing. So if you get one from a playoff team, now you're getting the pick at its absolute floor value, because they're selling it to you for a late 2023 first. But 2 years out, that team could be shit. Their owner can ditch the league. They can orphan the team, and then all of a sudden, you have an early 2023 first that was never accounted for. The minute that pick goes from a late first to a mid to early first, you're winning that trade massively. You guys might be asking, why the 2023 class? Well, doesn't this kind of apply to the 2022 class as well? Here's the thing. The 2023 class is loaded, fellas. A 2023, just straight up, once we get to 2023, a 2023 mid-first might end up being more value than a 2021 mid-first when it's all said and done, not even accounting for the future value of things. And that's because of how great this class is. Let me preface, I'm not a Devy guy. I'm not out there in campus to Canton leagues. I'm not doing all that shit. But I'm interested in these players. I always want to get one step ahead of the game for you guys because I want to spit the cleanest and best analysis for you guys. So I'm always looking out ahead of the curve. And I honestly might even start doing Devy stuff, but don't lock me into anything. I'm not a big commitment guy. I don't know. But the guys I follow on Twitter, you know, the ones they're whispering in my ear about this class, you know, I'm peeling back the curtains. I'm looking at some players. Oh, okay, he looks pretty good. That freshman season was pretty crazy. Now, I just want to remind you guys, the 2023 class, all they've had is their freshman season, and these guys on Twitter are telling me that this class, like Ron, this is the one. Like these guys, they're not playing around. And I can see, I'm looking at the ADP, and I see this in the ADP. I go to DevyWatch.com, probably like the best free ADP for Devy, and the 101 and 102 in Superflex Devy drafts are both 2023 prospects. They're Bijan Robinson, the running back out of Texas, and DJ Uiagalelei out of Clemson. I think I said that right. I think I did all right. And let me tell you guys, having two players head and shoulders above the 2022 class as is, this far out, we're in fucking May. And 2023 class is already dominating over 2022. This is very unusual. Last year at the same time, there wasn't a single 2022 prospect in Devy ADP until pick 9. This is from @DLF or DLF Football, and it was Keaton Slavis. Now, you guys may say 2022 is a weaker class, and it might be. It is definitely a weaker class than 2023. It's probably as strong, maybe a little bit stronger than 2021, but this 2023 class looks unprecedented. In Devy leagues, you get extra value because Devy, pretty much you draft players that are in college and then you wait for them to build up to the NFL. So you don't want to sit there. When you draft a prospect that's a 2023, you have to wait an extra year to actually get that player on your roster. So even with that in mind, there are still two players from 2023 at the top of the class. And let's talk about the golden boy of this class. We have Bijan Robinson. He's going at the 101. The guy has pedigree, fellas. 5-star recruit, top running back in the class. And in his senior year of high school, let's not even get into college yet at Texas. In his senior year of high school, he ran for 126 rushes, 2,235 rushing yards, and 38 rushing touchdowns. Let me just say that for you guys. He averaged 17.7 yards a carry and 203 yards a game on 11.5 carries per game. What the fuck? This guy is just out there ragdolling kids. But what's even crazier is, this guy is 6 foot, 223 pounds right now, and his best comparable on 247, which is like the biggest recruiting website, has it at Alvin Kamara. So he's a big fella. He runs for a lot of yards, and he has the receiving game of Alvin Kamara, according to them. And he hasn't disappointed at all. In these 9 games that he's played as a freshman, he rushed 86 times, had 703 yards, averaged 8.2 yards per carry, and had 4 touchdowns on the ground. He also did pretty well in the receiving game. He had 15 catches for 196 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns through the air, which doesn't sound that crazy, but let's add some context, fellas. And not only are we going to add some context, the kind of standard that I'm setting for Bijan Robinson and everybody else is, we think he's going to be the next generational guy. And when I mean generational, I mean somebody that's going to get drafted in the top 5 of the NFL draft. So we're talking about Trent Richardson, Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, and Saquon Barkley. Those are the 4 guys since 2009 who have been drafted in the top 5, and I would consider them generational type talents. And these are my favorite charts to use over at campus2canton.com, but it gives you a really good understanding of what's going on that team. And this is the percentage of rushing yards on the left graph and the percentage of receiving yards on the right graph that he has for his entire team. So the percentage of team rushing yards and percentage of passing yards that he has on Texas over years out of high school. So on the y-axis is going to be receiving yard market share and rushing yard market share. On the x-axis, you're going to get years out of high school. And the maroon dots are the average for a top 12 running back. Let's focus on their freshman season, so just year 1 out of high school. Bijan Robinson places as second in rushing market share behind only Saquon Barkley, ahead of the top 12 RB dot. So he's a head and shoulders above the rest of the guys, only behind Saquon, and is ahead of that top 12 RB dot we want him to hit. That little maroon dot is the one you want him to get above, because that is the average for top 12 running backs in the NFL. The best part is we're talking about a guy like Saquon Barkley, somebody who has commanded over 100 receptions in the NFL in a single season. In his rookie season, he had like over 100 catches. Bijan Robinson placed first in receiving yard market share as a freshman, ahead of all of these guys. So the Kamara comparisons, they hold weight, fellas. They hold weight, or they hold water. I don't know how that saying goes, but I really do think this is the next Saquon Barkley level prospect in 2023. But it gets better. This class is deep. There's a clear big 3 with Robinson. You have Jahmyr Gibbs out of Georgia Tech, and you have Tank Bigsby. His name is literally Tank Bigsby, going at the 106 and 107 behind the big 3 2022 prospects who are Rattler, Howell, and Breece Hall. So let's add Gibbs and let's add Bigsby to this chart. We have rushing yards market share on the left and receiving yard market share on the right. Tank Bigsby actually looks really good. He passes Bijan and is second to only Saquon Barkley in rushing yard market share, all while doing that in the SEC. Gibbs finishes 6th, below the dot we want, but he smashes the receiving yard market share. He is head and shoulders above the rest, and he looks like a guy that could really be an Eckler, Kamara, McCaffrey type guy in this class. He has, for what he did as a freshman in the receiving game, is insane. And this is the area where Bigsby lacks. He's right on the top 12 dot, ahead of only Ezekiel Elliott. So Bigsby, he's a really solid rusher, has some receiving ability. Gibbs is a really good receiver, has some rushing ability. They should both work on these flaws, but they look the part of great running backs as well, especially because they're both hovering around that 5'11", 200 to 205 range. You know, we want that workhorse build, and these guys have plenty of room to grow. So these height and weights, obviously, they still have 2 more years of college programming. You know, they're going to eat real good in that nutrition program. So they got plenty of time to grow into that workhorse build. And just to make it clear, when we're talking about the top 4 running backs in Devy, remember, 106, 107 is where Tank Bigsby and Jahmyr Gibbs are going. Not to understate how good they are at all. So, of the top 4 running backs in Devy, you have Bijan Robinson, 2023. Then the only 2022 back is Breece Hall at Iowa State. Then you have Tank Bigsby and you have Jahmyr Gibbs. I think I'm saying Jahmyr Gibbs right. I don't know. The Y is throwing me off a little bit. And not to mention, there's other big names. There's a 5-star recruit, Zach Evans, who was up there with Bijan Robinson. He had a decent first year at TCU. He has room to emerge. And you have Jace McClellan out of Alabama, Kendall Milton out of Georgia. Those guys are at big-time schools, big-time prospects. They have room to grow as well. Then we're only talking about the running backs. Those are 3 running backs. We have 1 running back that could go top 5 and 2 running backs that I would feel pretty confident are probably fringe first-round guys, probably of the Akers, Dobbins, Swift, Jonathan Taylor kind of tiers, where I'd put Tank Bigsby and Gibbs. But these quarterbacks, especially the 102 DJ Uiagalelei. I'm just gonna call him DJ for now on because that's a bit of a tongue twister for your boy. But the dude was a 5-star recruit coming out, 6'4", 250 pounds. So we're talking big boy. We're talking like Cam Newton type build. He doesn't have quite that rushing upside, but his best comparable on 247 is Demarcus Russell. People forget Demarcus Russell. Yes, he was a bust, but the guy had insane talent, especially his arm. His arm was insane, and that's what it is with DJ. He has an arm strength rating of 10 out of 10 on 247, and apparently they were saying in his little bio, I don't know, if you guys want to call Cap, you can call Cap, but he was saying he could chuck it over 80 yards as an 18-year-old senior. We are talking cannon. This guy has a Jamarcus Russell, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes level cannon. He's 6'4", 250, and he played in 2 games last year when Trevor Lawrence had COVID, and he looked fucking sick, man. These highlights are insane. As a true freshman, he played really well. He's not no redshirt freshman. We're talking about a true freshman, 18 years old. He gets thrown to the Wolves in a COVID year, and he balls the fuck out. He has games against Boston College and at Notre Dame. At Notre Dame, he throws for 439 yards and 2 touchdowns. He loses that game, sure, but that's still super impressive. Between those games, he had a 69% completion percentage, and he averaged 390 yards passing per game, 2 TDs per game, and he threw 0 interceptions. And he had a rushing TD on the ground in each of those games. He threw no picks in his first 2 starts and balled out. Then let's go past DJ. I'm super excited about DJ, but we got one other guy to cover that's really big in this class. We have Bryce Young out of Alabama. He's that new heir apparent. You know, you had Tua, Jalen Hurts, then you have Mac Jones. Bryce Young is that dude. He is a Tua level prospect. He's a 5-star recruit. He was not only ranked ahead of DJ Uiagalelei, he's the 6th best quarterback prospect of all time on 247 Sports. He's best comparable to Russell Wilson. He is listed as a dual threat quarterback, so we're talking really mobile guy. And DJ and Bryce Young, they feel like this year's Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. And of course, with quarterback, we're going to have late guys that break out. Not everybody can start as a freshman. Bryce Young didn't start as a freshman. We're going to get guys that are like Joe Burrow and Zach Wilson that break out as seniors. So be on the lookout. This quarterback class is really strong as well. And while we're at it, we might as well just break down the whole class, fellas. Let's look at these wide receivers. The wide receiver class for 2023, I'll say, is probably one of the weaker points of this class, but it's still really strong. The headliner here is going to be 5-star Kayshon Boutte. He's going at the 112 in Devy ADP right now. I've seen him go as the first wide receiver as a 7th pick off the board. I think a lot of sharp people have him as their wide receiver 1 in Devy. So we're talking about that kind of talent. We're talking about an LSU 5-star wide receiver, and that's been working out pretty well recently. He's only 6 foot 185, but he has plenty of room to grow. You know, we want those thick alphas, but we can't expect them to be thick alphas from day one. You know, they're gonna get in the weight room, they're gonna do their thing. And he had an underwhelming first 7 games at LSU, but this is because he shared the field with NFL talent Terrace Marshall. Once Marshall left, Boutte ate. He put up 3 straight 100-yard games against Alabama, Florida, and Ole Miss. We're talking about legit programs. You know, Patrick Surtain's on that Alabama team. We're talking about dogs. And not only that, but if you look at this picture, on that last game, he broke the SEC record for most receiving yards in a game last year against Ole Miss with 308. As a true freshman, he broke that fucking single game record. And you know me, let's look at the analysts. Let's put him up against other crazy receivers. Let's put him up on this chart again, but this time we're going to use receiving yards per team pass attempt. It's just receiving yards in an offense over pass attempts. It's a really predictive stat, probably like the most predictive wide receiver stat we have, and it just shows dominance and efficiency. Boutte looked better as a true freshman in a COVID year than his two other wide receiver counterparts in Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. And those guys are pretty fucking good. And he's also in some good company with the other two top wide receivers in this class. This big three, they're all above the dot. They look really good in their freshman year receiving yards per team pass attempt. And the first guy is 5-star Rakeem Jarrett out of Maryland. And you guys know I'm loving this. Boy is 6 foot, 200 pounds as an 18-year-old true freshman. Be excited. Then we have 4-star Marvin Mims. He's a little bit smaller at 5'11", 177. A little bit less exciting, but still crazy good freshman year production. He can grow into his build a little bit more, but they all look really good in year one, and they all outperform the dot, which marks the average for a top 24 wide receiver. And let's just go one step further. Let's look at the tight ends real quick. The tight ends are really juicy, fellas. And I keep preaching, let's look at the Devy ADP. Let's look at where the 2023 guys are compared to the 2022. The wild part is the top 2 tight ends we're going to talk about in 2023 are the top 2 tight ends in Devy. So they are both better than any of the 2022 tight end prospects. And you might say, why is that? Weidermeyer out of Texas A&M is a really good prospect, but these guys are dogs, especially Eric Gilbert. He is the greatest tight end recruit of all time. We are talking over Greg Olsen, Martellus Bennett, O.J. Howard. The greatest of all time tight end recruit. I don't know. That is just insane. This is an insane class just from a high school recruiting perspective. This guy, Eric Gilbert, he's 6'5", 250. He put up 35 catches, 368 yards, and 2 touchdowns as a true freshman on Waiver LSU. So he's putting up those numbers next to Kayshon Boutte and Terrace Marshall as a freshman tight end. And this guy ran 55% of his snaps out of the slot or wide. So he's moving all around the formation like a Kyle Pitts. He's not just sitting in line. This is a guy that looks like an absolute stud at the NFL level. The thing is, he's an LSU guy. He transferred to Florida, then he decommitted to Florida, and now he's just stuck in the transfer portal. So we don't know where he's going to play next year, but be excited about Eric Gilbert. And again, let's go back to the well on the chart. We have receiving yards per team pass attempt here again for tight ends. Not super predicted, but just a good idea to see what he looks like against other great tight ends. And I put him up against some of the best tight end prospects we've seen go in the first round that played their freshman year. But we have O.J. Howard, Eric Ebron, Evan Ingram, Noah Fant, and Kyle Pitts. Eric Gilbert stands out against the crowd. He's first amongst all of them in receiving yards per team pass attempt. And check this out. He opted out for his last 2 games. And this chart, they don't account for that. They don't do per game. They do it by season. So even with just taking zeros on his last 2 games, he still comes out on top. And the crazier part is that the tight end 2, his counterpart, Michael Meyer, look at this chart real quick. He's not only ahead of those historic first round tight ends, he's ahead of fucking Eric Gilbert. He's one of the best. He has one of the best freshman year seasons we've ever seen. He wasn't the same type of historic athlete coming out of college, but he's still, I think he was a top 20 tight end recruit of all time, 5-star, and he put up 42, 450, and 2 on Notre Dame last year. So after recapping damn near the entire 2023 class, let's take a little time to reflect, fellas. This is an insane class. And I'll admit, I know a lot of you guys out there are probably going to say, players bust and flame out. I know I'm looking at this class kind of rosy, I'm expecting best case scenario for all of them. I know that some prospects will flame out. I know Amon-Ra St. Brown and Seth Williams were super highly regarded after freshman seasons, and they went day 3 this year. So things happen where guys don't pop, but what can happen, as many stories as Seth Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown's, we have guys that don't pop until their freshman year, or until their sophomore year, I mean. You have guys like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson who do nothing as freshmen, and then they break out as sophomores. So we're going to see as many guys that are just freshman year wonders. We're going to see guys that pop off next year, which is going to be really exciting. And what's even more impressive is the amount of freshman studs we had this year, even with shortened training camps. Last year we had COVID. There was no spring ball, and these guys still performed their ass off. They didn't have time to get chemistry with the quarterback and get completely integrated in. I couldn't even imagine being a football player for a program like Texas and not even getting a full acclimation and ramp up period and just going out there and balling out. And just to recap this class, it's looking really strong. We have an RB that could go top 5, and I'm not exaggerating. Bijan Robinson, look out. He could be that guy who is a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. I know we haven't seen it in a while since Saquon Barkley, but they're going to come around every 5 to 10 years, and I think that this guy could be it. Then we have Tank Bigsby and Gibbs. Those guys could be first-round running backs. Then we have 2 quarterbacks in DJ and Bryce Young that are most likely going to be top 5 picks. Then we have 2 of the best tight end prospects we've seen in a long time. Well, not only we just saw Kyle Pitts, but 2 really, really solid tight end prospects, probably guys that could go first round in the NFL draft. and we have a pretty good wide receiver class. And that's just after year one. There's going to be plenty of Joe Burrow type prospects who break out late. We're going to have guys like Chase and Justin Jefferson who break out as sophomores. Fellas, this 2023 class, be excited. When you're tuning in on college football Saturday, look out for these players. That's probably like the best part of like catching up with like Devy and the 2023 prospects. We're already seeing the value of this class show through in Devy ADP. Like I said, you don't usually see 2023 prospects get picked ahead of 2022 guys because they have to sit for that 1 year on your bench. But it's happening, and it's because this class is so strong. And the Devy community is a very small part of the Dynasty community, so only that little tiny part has caught up with that. So you have to jump on it now. I'm telling you, if you're watching this video, go send out an offer right now in one of your Dynasty leagues. Go make an offer for a future 2023 first. I don't care if you're tanking. I don't care if you're a fine team. If I'm a contender, I still want 2023 picks because I think that once everyone understands how crazy this class is, their value is going to jump up. And if you want to flip a 2023 first to go out and win in 2021 or 2022, then go do that as well. But if you're rebuilding, hoard these picks. I'm talking in rookie drafts when you're trading back and stuff. Try and go get 3, 4, 5, 23 first round draft picks. If you can own that draft in 2023, 2024, you're just going to keep on raking money in on those buy-ins. There's no way that anyone's going to be able to keep up with you. And I just want to say, winter is coming, fellas. This draft is going to be wild. I'm telling you, stock up on these picks before word gets out that the 2023 draft class is going to be insane. All right, if you made it this far, man, I appreciate it. Make sure you go down below, subscribe, and leave a like. Also, make sure you join the Discord. Right now, we're popping off. We got like 80 members in there. They're all subscribers of the channel. We run mock drafts. We do underdog best ball drafts. Just a way to stay connected as a community in there. And if you want any of my rankings or any of my one-on-one trade advice, anything like that, make sure you go down below, join the Patreon. We have a really cool, strong community in there as well. And as always, I'm going to make a thread on this probably in maybe a couple days, maybe a week, maybe literally tomorrow morning. I don't know, but there's going to be a thread on Twitter. You can follow me there at @RonStewart_, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Thirsty, trying to choose. I know I'm pretty cool. My nitty bag, my kitty boots. I got the juice, 10 old Chatham's on. Foolies glad I'm home. Even my haters kinda glad I'm home.